What's going on? This is City Chapters Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby J. Today's chapter is with Darby Meegan, a.k.a. DJ Spicy Ketchup. DJ Spicy Ketchup. DJ Spicy Ketchup is in the house.
That's right.
And we about to get into a cool little interview, cool little chat. Stoked to have Darby here ever since I met him. Dude is full of energy, always a good time. So for you that don't know him, welcome to DJ Spicy Ketchup's world.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just a ketchup bottle and we're all living in it. So
Yeah, man, totally. Let's shake it up.
shake it up. What is the best ketchup that you're aware of in your life?
Oh, what? I wasn't prepped with this question, man. Dang. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm cool with Heinz. Like Heinz. I don't know.
It's a sugar-heavy ketchup.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's not great. What's your favorite, man? That's the real question. What we got?
It's the origin story, actually. Spicy ketchup comes from Whataburger. Have you had a Whataburger before?
Nope.
It's a Texas original burger place. It's in the name. Whataburger, just like you like it. Back when I was in college, they came out with spicy ketchup. So I was down there in Texas, and it was a limited release thing. It was going to be around for 30 days. Boom. It's like a ketchup with Tabasco in it. It's good.
Dang.
Best ketchup there is. I got 2 bottles in my fridge.
That's right.
Sponsor me, Whataburger.
You order it straight from their website? How do you get the Whataburger ketchup?
It's at like Target and stuff now.
Oh, is it?
It's like they were going to be a limited release. It got to the point where me and the homies and basically everybody in Texas was going into Whataburger and snatching. They would like walk in and you would just take the ketchup with you because it was like only 2 weeks left. And so it got to the point where it was like so popular that people were trying to stockpile it before it went out, and they reran it. So there it is, spicy ketchup.
Man, I feel like a basic bitch because I said Heinz.
Well, everybody, do you know, like, whenever you're at a restaurant, where do you tap on the bottle to get the ketchup to release on the Heinz? Do you have like a code or like the secret move?
Like a Morse code to tap tap.
Well,
you know
some
what
people
I mean?
like they'd say you hold it at the 45 and then you tap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, I just kind of turn it upside down and just spank it.
Spank it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Spokane Spanker. We caught him. You remember that? Do you remember that? The Spokane Spanker?
No.
Brennan, do you remember that?
I do, yeah. I remember the Spokane Spanker.
He said it with such a disappointment.
I don't think it's good, so it doesn't sound good. Well, who was the Spokane Spanker?
He didn't know. There's an interview with him that you can find. He did not know that. He did not consider it like sexual assault, but he was like running on the Centennial Trail and spanking women, and did it for like weeks, months.
Yeah, like it was like I think it was like a month, yeah.
This is unhinged, but yeah. So then they finally like put out like an APB on him, like this guy's assaulting women. And he came forward and like apologized and was like, I didn't realize, and turned himself in. It was like a whole saga for like a summer that this dude was doing this. It was
just casually jogging, just spanking ladies.
Just like you in a ketchup bottle.
On
exactly.
The trail.
Just
wow.
casually tapping the ketchup bottle. That's what he was doing. Sorry, that's not a way to start this podcast.
We're going deep today. I told you, Spicy Ketchup. He's a unique individual, the Spokane Spanker.
Not me. To be I am not the Spokane Spanker.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, I'm gonna have to try your Whataburger ketchup, man. We got a barbecue, bro. You got to bring the Whata ketchup, spicy ketchup over, man. And, we got to stay away from the Spokane Spanker. Do they got a squeeze bottle so we don't have to worry about no spanking? All right, that's 100%. Good. I like that, Prefer the squeeze.
That's right.
That doesn't even sound good at all. It doesn't sound good anymore.
It's all right. It's good. It's great. It's a good ketchup.
Serious note, though, you grew up in Texas.
I did.
And what part of Texas were you born in?
I'm from North Dallas, about 20 miles north on I-35, straight out of the city. Right south of a town called Denton, a little community called Hickory Creek. Real small, dirt roads in my neighborhood kind of place, small town Texas. And then the city kind of reached up to that town when I grew up. So I remember when we got a Walmart in our like area, they like took a wheat field over and put a Walmart. Everybody from town like boycotted it at first because it was killing small business. And then within like 2 months, you would like see all your friends at Walmart just buying there. So yeah, North Texas right there.
All the farmers are there, like, yeah.
Getting a deal on those
All the
great
ranchers are
value.
like, yeah, can't beat it, man. Sorry.
You got the Great Value chili, the Great Value double fudge Oreo knockoffs. Yeah. So North Texas, born and raised, 22 and a half years, and then moved up here. Yeah.
22 and a half years, you said?
Something like that.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Texas, man? You hear like everybody from Texas really loves it there. That's all, there's a lot of pride that comes from Texas. What was it like growing up in Texas, and how do you think that formed you as the type of man you are today?
It's a good question. It's interesting because if you talk to people from Texas who live there today, they always talk about how it changed.
Yeah.
Some for the better, some for the worse. I heard a podcast, Wall Street Journal reports that there's more Fortune 500 companies in Texas than any other state, probably because of tax benefits and all that they've done. So growing up, though, that wasn't true. It was like small town. I mean, at one point in my life, we had like a horse. So like we were true Texans in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a story of Texans are used to change because there's a lot of people. You always know somebody's a farmer, somebody who's out on a ranch, somebody who was roughnecking in the oil industry. But then growing up suddenly in Dallas, it was always under construction because it was just booming. Highways, everything. It was hot. That's the other piece. And then I think the other piece that's interesting is going to college, the world came to you in Texas. So I think the university I went to was like 40 or 50% international students. And so in a different regard, like it's a big city with like neighborhoods and just the world came to you. And so growing up there, it was what you made it, I guess, is the other piece. Because we would hustle down to Dallas to go to a concert or something with some friends. But we also have friends that were every weekend out on the farm. So that was the people you grew up with, both reaches. So.
What college did you go to?
I went to 2 colleges. So I started at University of North Texas for 2.5 years, and then I switched to UTA, Texas at Arlington. Go Mavs, nay. Nobody knows what that is. So yeah, I switched halfway through, changed my major, and started commuting from my house that I had grown up in. My parents moved out, and then went to UTA, which was a commuter school. I went from like a cool school that like people love to go to, 40,000 students, to UTA, which was like everybody was coming from around the Metroplex. And you just didn't really have a sense of community. So yeah, UTA is where I ended up.
UTA. And what'd you end up getting your degree in?
Yeah. Oh man. My parents are going to listen to this and clutch their chests. When I first went to UNT, I wanted to do design. I thought to myself, I want to do like, they called it wasn't advertising design, but it was like a program where essentially you were communication design. I didn't do that. I'm a nerd, dude. I graduated high school with a bunch of college credits, took Cal 1, and I worked my way to becoming a mechanical engineering major. So I'm pretty good with math, which is like a surprise. Not a lot of people know that that's my background. I actually transferred to UTA because UNT wasn't accredited at the time. So I was looking at where I was going in college, and I thought I wanted to be an engineer. So I transferred to UTA. So yeah, a little bit of a nerd. Got a $300 calculator to this day that I don't use, but it's hanging around the house somewhere. So
just in case.
Just in case. I stay strapped.
Yeah, stay strapped. Got a holster. Yeah.
I'll do some logarithmic equations.
Darby just be
for
walking
fun.
around at home with a holster and his calculator just in case. Just baby.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Love that, man. That's cool. That's why I do this podcast, because I get to learn different things I don't know about people that I associate with. So you got a mathematician mind.
Maybe not. I was like
or you enjoy math, or
yeah, I was good at it. I think it's one of those things where I figured out how to be good at math, and then I figured out how to learn it. And I don't think I actually ever really enjoyed it. I think I hated it to some regard, but I was better than everybody else. I trace that back to 3rd grade. This will be disputed by my mom if she listens to this. But I have a brother. I have 3 brothers, 2 years up. And the one older than me is way more athletic, way entrepreneurial minded. And he was terrible at math in 5th and 6th grade. And so as a 3rd grader, I would sit there and color at the kitchen table and watch my mom tutor him on his math homework. And then I would just do his math homework 2 years early. So that was where I got good at math, was as I found out it was a way to get in his head a little bit. It was the only way I could beat him at his own game, is be better at math than he was. So yeah, there you go. Vengeance is the number one.
Yeah.
Shout out Daniel.
Yeah. Little brothers figure out one way or another to be able to challenge the big bro. So
That's right.
yeah. So when you graduated college, where did you go from there?
Yeah, I saw it coming, and most of my friends had done internships their whole like college, like the last 2 years of college, and I was a pizza guy. Had to like pay the bills, and so I was a pizza guy. I kept my job over the summer so I could keep it in the school year. And my friends, one by one, were getting like different jobs. One of them was working at like it was like a water cutter. I don't know. They would like machine stuff out of aluminum. One went to work for Caterpillar, Train, all these different places. And one of them was designing bolts to like hold cranes down. And he was like, oh, I'm going to get to decide if there's 46 bolts or 47. And I remember thinking to myself, I will die if that's my career. And I will like be wearing khaki pants and look like a complete like, you know, engineer. And I just remember shuddering at that thought of like, I need to have a different job. So I started applying, and I went to work at BNSF Railway as a management trainee, which sounds so official, but I applied. Basically, I texted one of my friends because I thought his dad worked there, and it turns out he didn't, but I had applied for the job at the same time. He was able to get me set up with some lunch with somebody, and I met them. And by the time I had gotten home from that lunch, I had gotten an email saying I was interviewing. And it was, as part of it, whenever they hired me or they were approaching hiring me, they asked me where I wanted to live. And I wrote down PNW, I wrote down like SF Denver as if that was one spot, and then Texas is the third option. And yeah, they ended up moving me to Tri-Cities, Washington, which I thought was the coolest place in the world, dude.
Yeah.
I got to Tri-Cities in January of 2014, and I'm flying in with the window shade open, like just pushed up against the glass of the airplane. And I remember seeing like Badger Mountain and Rattlesnake Mountain on the horizon, and I was just like, God bless America, like apple pies, Betsy Ross over here sewing the American flag in Tri-Cities, Washington, the Columbia River. And yeah, so that's how I got to Washington. Is I took a job out of college at BNSF Railway, not knowing, moved halfway across the United States, not knowing anybody, was dating my wife at the time. And
did you meet her in college, or where did you meet her? Okay.
yeah, I met her actually, she went to UNT, and it was that period of college where everybody sort of starts sifting to where they're going to land in their life.
Yeah.
So people like, oh, I'm going to move to Chicago, New York City, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston. And so it was like her senior year and a bunch of my friends' senior years. And so the friend groups sort of start congealing down. And so like the 30 people became one group of 30 that was all there. And so she got to know a bunch of my friends, and I met her through those people. So I ended up moving 7 months later while we were dating. I had merged my finances with her. I had $32, so not a lot at risk at the present moment. But yeah, so we merged our finances before we were engaged and all that. So yeah, I towed her up.
Yeah. So how long were you up here before she moved up here and you guys got married? What was that transition like during that time of dating at a distance, I guess?
Yeah. March of 2013, the 21st, it was her birthday. We had met March 21st of 2012, her birthday. She didn't remember that. I remember like everything about that whole circumstance. She doesn't remember any of it. And then a year later, we met again on her birthday the next year.
Oh, okay. So you met on one of her birthdays. She didn't remember actually meeting you, and then you met her again, and that's when she remembers you.
That's
and
right.
You guys started
She
it
showed
off
up
from
to
there.
a party.
Yeah.
Donald Palooza, shout out. She showed up to a party as one of our high school friends. We were all in
Yeah.
college, and one of our high school friends was graduating. So we threw like a bash for him. She showed up smelling like cigars and was like, oh, I just got done smoking cigars with my friend. And I'm like, golly, who's this person?
Right.
So that was March of 2013. January 2014 is when I moved to Washington. We had been dating, oh man, 8 months at that point, 9 months. And then we got engaged February the next year, less than a year. And then married that August. And so she flew up in August to move to Washington. I think she would tell you, she would probably agree that like within 2 weeks of dating, we both knew like,
dang,
it was
man.
like, so
That's
yeah.
so cool, dude.
I have friends that are like, how did you know? They're like been dating somebody for 3 to 5 years. Like, how did you know? And I was like, dude, I can't tell you.
I've been dating people my whole life, and I've never have had that Well, I've had the inclination maybe with 2 girls, but certainly not within time for sure. Like, I'm like, maybe.
How did you get to like a maybe after so long? How did you not know? Like in my heart, like I'm just wired different. Maybe like I was like, yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that could play into the way I was raised, psychology, how I was affected with my parents' relationship. I don't know. Me and my brother talk about this quite a bit, but there's been 2 girls. The first girl I seriously dated for 2 years, there was definitely something there that I felt like we could have developed a life partnership. But at the end, really, we just wanted to live 2 different ways, and I wanted to go a certain way. She didn't want to join me on that path. And so there was just no way for it to work out from that point on once we got to that place.
And it took 2 years to figure out that y'all were on different paths.
I want to, it would, I mean, yeah, I guess maybe. Because, I mean, we were really fairly young. I definitely had strong emotions for that girl, though. Like, I'd never felt that way about a girl.
Sure.
And so I think it was hard for me that first time to really go through and understand that as much as I love this girl, that she's actually not the one for me.
Sure.
And I'm not the one for her, And so it was hard to let go, I guess. And I think it probably was about, I don't know, maybe within a year and a quarter, year and a half that it started unraveling a bit.
Sure.
And then, trying to hold on to it, trying to make it work, which is never a good thing. I don't like that saying when people are like, oh, we're trying to make it work. It either works or it doesn't. That's how I feel,
Sure.
And it doesn't mean you don't have challenges, but just ever since her though, there's never really been another girl I felt that same kind of strong attachment to. So
There's a couple girls listening to this right now. Their hearts are just silently breaking. You're like, you never felt that way about me.
Definitely dated some amazing women.
Sure.
And honestly, there's some women that I dated that I wish I did have that feeling for, because they are amazing women. But I haven't got there. And I've met a few people that have had that kind of encounter like you, which I think a lot of people doubt that's possible,
Sure.
that actually can really happen and it lasts. And there's people out there, it does happen. Mm-hmm. And you're proof of that.
Coming up on 10 years. I got married at 23 years old.
Wow.
And a lot of people look at that. Like, it's a different culture in Texas, right? We're from the Bible Belt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I always joke that I reached as high as I could and she settles as comfortably as reasonable. So, yeah. Then people are like, don't sell yourself short. I say, I don't. I know what I have and I know who I am. So, no, 10 years in, I think it's funny because, like, on our best days, we're like, wow, 10 years ago we knew, and that like, whatever it was, it felt right. And then on our worst days, I think it's like 10 years ago, it's like, wow, you bamboozled me. Because you've changed a lot, right? In 10 years, it's funny because I tell
22 to now, in your early 30s, like, a lot of change has happened for me in that life time.
That's right.
That's
Yeah, my wife was there. Angel was there the first time I shaved my head. And I cried in her bathroom in college. Not because I don't think I cried because I was bald. I think I cried because there was like a piece of me that I had like I don't know, man. You always think you have good hair or you want to have good hair, right? It's like a piece of you that's very visible. And I have a giant ass birthmark on the back of my head. So like there's a part of me that was looking at that birthmark going, I'm a freak. And then you like start seeing it on people with just like a regular fade and you're going, okay, maybe I'm not a freak. Maybe I'm a normal person. But yeah, so I think it was like, part of it is we decided to change together. We both read this book. I don't remember what it was. It was Severe Mercy, maybe. It's like Sheldon Vanauken. You can put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
You don't see his face, but he's smirking. So there's like a book called A Severe Mercy, and it's about these people, and they're like a couple. I think they get together whenever she has like cancer or something, and they live this really beautiful life together. They're friends with C.S. Lewis, who's an author, and they live this charmed life. They like go to Cambridge and all this stuff. And I like remember reading that book in like the first month or two of getting to know my wife. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you change together, you live your life together, you go through this crazy stuff together. And like in some ways that sense of belonging, not even the person, but the person who creates that with you, that sense of belonging is enough to really like be confident in who you are. And so like my wife's like, you changed, like you didn't used to be this crazy. You were, yeah. So I don't know. We read that book, or she handed it to me like one of the first times when we started dating, and I read it. And I remember like feeling like I was like staring into her psyche a bit. And then realizing again, like grappling with the humanity and what's happening throughout your life. They like bought a car. And when they bought this car, they walked outside with a ball peen hammer and they like hit it on the hood. And they're like, I never want to like have the feeling of like you've done something to damage the value of a good to come between us. And I remember like reading that being like, who are these freaks? Like that they would damage something. But the idea behind it in that book that they share of this memoir is like they cared about each other enough to purposely damage something they own so that it would never be something that would hold animosity between them. So not to say that like I've ever done that, but 2 weeks in, before I read the book even, that's that. So I towed her up 8 months in, August of 2014. She moved up to Washington, to the isolation of Tri-Cities. I had formed a life for 8 months, and she was sitting there like, who are these people? Why do I live in this desert town?
Yeah.
It's not even a town. It's like 3 little pieces of suburbs stapled together. So.
Right. Did she come up here and find a career job for herself, or how did that operate for her to move up here?
You know, it's interesting. So Tri-Cities, she's an accountant by training, and she does some stuff. She's historically done some accounting work. So when she moved up, she needed to get her master's so she should get a CPA because she needed so many hours. And there was no like school in Tri-Cities that offered a CPA or like a master's in tax or master's in accounting. And so within 3 months, we had transferred up to Spokane, November of 2014. She started at Gonzaga the next fall. Brennan's like, I didn't know this about you. You're way nerdier than I.
You're telling the story of my wife. That's why I'm like, like my wife did the exact same thing. So I'm like sitting here, like, I'm just amazed because like my wife has a master's in accounting from Gonzaga. And I was like, it's interesting. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's cool. So we moved up from Tri-Cities. I transferred November. Coming from Texas, I'd never experienced real winter before. And we moved like November 16th of 2014. There was already like 2.5, 3 feet of snow on the ground in town. That was a real bad winter, if you remember it.
Yep.
And we moved into the Boulevard building right there off of Northwest in Monroe.
Yeah.
And when you would open, the whole building is cooled by a swamp cooler. And when we moved in, it would like immediately create this giant draft through the building. And so by the time the movers got done, I think the entire building was like 34 degrees. The inside of our windows in our apartment were like frosted. And I was like, what have I done? Like, I don't even own a jacket. Like, I'm from Texas, man. I'm wearing cloth. I don't even know what like synthetic down, all that say.
Right. So
yeah. Moved up, towed her up. She started at Gonzaga the next year. Yeah, dude, there's you can see the train of thought has stopped. The gate is closed in front of me. I can't even put the parking ticket in to get something back. So moved up.
Yeah, I was just asking, what she did when she moved up here for her career.
So nothing, which was part of the hardest part of our marriage was the first 3 months because we lived in Tri-Cities and she entered into my life that was like already spinning. And so she had heard of people, she'd talked to people, she'd met them once when she had visited. But she like jumped both feet first into living a life where we had one car and I would either work at 5 a.m. or I would get off at midnight. And so she would either have to stay up late or get up early to take me to work if she wanted to have a car. She couldn't go to school, so she couldn't really better herself. I was like a bachelor, and so like I was going to Yolks and buying like a 12-pack of pork chops on Tuesdays because that was my day off for $1.49 a pound and cooking pork chops nonstop. So like
That's what my dad would be doing. That's funny.
6 weeks into our marriage,
shit.
we're like having this argument about who sacrifices more for our life. And she's like, I don't have a career. I'm living my life. We have one car. And then I'm like, well, I do all this stuff. We're working so hard. And she's like, I eat pork chops every day.
No,
I was like,
bro.
when I knew I had broken her spirit.
Yeah,
She started
you
crying.
totally
about
broke her spirit, making her eat pork chops every day.
We've only had pork chops that I've made like 2 or 3 times since 2014. That's not a lie. She actually says I'm pretty good at cooking them, but yeah. That's real. That's real.
Dang, that's great, man.
Yeah, so she got back on track. She finished Gonzaga. She went to work in public accounting. She went to work at a local architecture firm. Now she works remotely as like a ERP consultant. That means something to some people, but yeah, she's the brains of the operation and the looks and the personality. I have the volume. That's it.
So, did you keep working for the railroad in Spokane then and got transferred here to work for them? And so, where do you go from there? And how, like, first off, I think, let's double back on this. You're DJ Spicy Ketchup.
Sure.
This is something we
That's
need
right.
to nail in on. You're a DJ. You're a music producer.
Sure.
You do a lot of music around town for a lot of local artists and probably beyond that. I don't even know. And that's part of why I want to learn more about your music production and career.
Sure.
When did that all start to develop for you? Was that back in Texas when you were starting to do music production and all that? Was it as a child? When did it begin?
Yeah, I played saxophone from 5th grade to junior year, or 6th grade to junior year. Like I remember 3rd grade or 4th grade, my uncle bought me a John Coltrane Greatest Hits collection on CD, back when those were like a thing. And I would listen to it like all day. I would like take a shower or a bath as a little kid, and I would like lug our big karaoke CD player into the bathroom and play John Coltrane real loud, which I'm sure my parents were like, what is he doing? Like Russian Lullaby for the 30th time today? Dude, yeah. So it started back then, started playing guitar in high school for church, bass. In high school, some friends moved from a town over. A friend, Evan, we bootlegged Fruity Loops back then.
Yeah.
I had a cracked version, and we formed a band. We put like 3 songs on MySpace. At one point, we had like 12 listeners in Japan. We felt like we were somebody in the world. I just remember that feeling of like putting something out on MySpace and
What was that band called?
the Cardiac Kids.
Cardiac
which now
Kids.
sounds like a pop punk band, which tells you like that era of music that we started.
Right.
It was like electronic, and so we had Fruity Loops on a laptop, and I would like click, and I started figuring it out, and so that was like the first intro into production. I remember I did here's a little song I wrote. Now, Don't Worry, Be Happy. That song I like made like a copy of it in Fruity Loops, and I was like, man, I like put that on my iPod. I was listening to it, and it started then, and then in college. I played more music, mostly bass, some synths, not a lot. And then when I moved to Tri-Cities, actually, my buddy he's solo projects called Weatherhead now. We were in a band called Marceline. I played bass in that. And one of the other guys like had a copy of Ableton, handed it to me in 2014 and put it onto a '07 MacBook Pro and was rocking like an old version of Ableton on an old MacBook and just started making beats. Like I was basically a single bachelor, and I just sat there and made beats all day whenever I didn't have anything to do, if I got off work early, whatever. So it really cracked open in 2014 is whenever I started making a lot. And then a guy that was in that band when I moved up to Spokane, my good friend Micah, one of my closest homies, he moved up here and we like met up to make a song. And from that, we like made a song in my basement off of Ableton and like a really crappy equipment. And then we went to a bar and we were like listening to it on headphones. And the lady, we looked at her, we're chatting, and she's like, "What are you guys up to?" And my buddy goes, "We're in a band." And so yeah, that was it. And since then, like, I don't know, Kanye's got the like 5 beats a day for 5 summers is like how he did it. But I don't know, man. I write a lot of like small loops, bigger arrangements, and that's how I got into music. And now fast forwarding 7 years since I moved, or no, 7 years, 8, 9 years in Spokane. So like, yeah, 9 years of Ableton and messing around, and I'm finally feeling like I got it figured out a little bit. Not really, but yeah. So,
You said Micah, right? He's the lead singer in that. What is that band?
it was called DM, DEE-EM. Yeah, it was the
Okay.
dumbest name, but it
Yeah.
was so fun.
Are you guys not doing any performances anymore? Or?
We do like one a year right now.
Yeah.
There's like
I've seen you guys perform once. It was awesome.
yeah, we're it will come back, and I think like some of it's my work's busy, some of it is you know, he moved away for a little bit. He's writing some great folk music. He's been in this band Spooky for a while. That's like probably one of the most animated like heavy metal power death power violence bands in Spokane. Spooky's fun. If you've never seen them, they're great.
I haven't
So
seen.
I think our schedules just misalign a little bit, but like we both have a special place in our heart that is waiting. We talk about doing an Airbnb for a weekend and like writing a whole project and just like coming back and making it go. So
Yeah.
it will come back. It has to.
So you knew him prior to Spokane?
Tri-Cities. Yeah, I met him in
he was in
Tri-Cities. He worked at
Tri-Cities.
a coffee shop that, you know, they always say if you're going to move across the country and you're going to do something, you go to a place over and over again until you meet the people that you're meant to meet. And so my buddy, again, 2 of my friends, Zimri, Michael owned a coffee shop called The Local right there off Gage Boulevard. If you've been to Tri-Cities, it's now in Indaba. And I just like looked up the best coffee shops in Tri-Cities. That and Barracuda came up. And the first time I went in there, I talked to like 4 different people at the coffee bar. And 1 month I spent over $200 there, and my wife called me. My fiance at the time called me and was like, "You cannot spend $200 a month at a coffee shop." I was like, "Well, it's lunch and dinner."
Yeah.
So I met him at there. He was a barista there. He was also in the band Marceline that we played in. It was like an indie band. And so, yeah, he's just, if you've ever met Micah, you've looked into a mirror and seen every part of you that you wish existed in him. So he's like the coolest person in the world. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, his performances are that time I saw you guys perform, it was epic.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is one of the truest people. If
He's
you,
a
again,
rock star, man.
but also
In
on a
every
personal level,
sense,
dude.
I don't know him personally, but yeah, as far as his performance, and he's got that rock star vibe, man.
Yes. Crowd surfing.
He does it all. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why.
He gets you stoked, man. Like, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and it's under like pop music. That was what made the band so special, I think, is like the music was really fun and upbeat. It was like punk stage presence.
Right.
And then the
It was
songs were
different.
like a little bit like sad, but not really. Or yeah. So it'll come back. There's a time and place for it. Maybe this year, maybe next, but we're both biding our time and we know it's gonna happen. So
Yeah, and so you do a lot of stuff with TS The Solution. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure that's how we met.
that's right.
And how did you and TS meet?
Yeah, so Max Harnischfeger, I think I said his name right, of Water Monster. He had that album come out, Tensis, I think in 2017, 2018. And there's a song called Window on it that TS is featured on. We opened for Water Monster at that album release. I'd listened to TS for a while. If you look up like best rapper in Spokane, his name always floats to the top on Reddit or anywhere. And so he had Purple in Spokane mixtape out, and Sleepwalking were 2 of the projects he had released. And so when I moved here, I knew his music and listened to it, which was sick. And then saw him perform with Max live, and it just so happened that in one of the end of a song, I stepped out to get a beer at the bar at the Bartlett. Rest in peace, the greatest.
Yeah,
man.
it was a cool place.
Those speakers were just coned with diamonds. And I walked out, and T was up there, and I just basically told him, "Man, I love your music." Da 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 da. And he said, "We should meet up." And that was when the Inlander called him Spokane's Dr. Dre. Do you remember that article? Do you remember that article? Yeah, I'm no Spokane historian, but maybe I'm a pop culture historian. And so the Inlander referred to him as the Spokane's Dr. Dre, where he was trying to connect the scene and make it work. And he's like, hey, you should come to the studio. So me and Micah showed up when he was right off of First.
Yeah, I think it's Second.
Second?
I believe it was on Second.
Yeah, so he was right off Second. We pulled up one time. He had his studio session, and we're just sitting there, and it was like somebody else's session, and they came in and were performing, and it was for a song, and we just kind of juiced him up, got him excited, and the take was incredible. And since then, we just started rocking together and made a track or two, and then I think his DJ moved across the state. He changed the way he performed, and it just was kind of a natural thing that, yeah, it's been 7 or 8 years, I think, since we've been working together and having fun. And yeah, man, that's my, I always joke on stage that that's my dad, and he says, I got the paperwork because that's 100% my boy. So yeah. It's a fun thing.
Yeah, the comical relief you guys have is awesome, on stage and part of the performance. So yeah,
I like it. He always talks about how he's in his emotion and his feelings, and I think at some point I got comfortable or he got comfortable, and he flipped me shit in the middle of a set. And then it was a funny moment. And I think there was this period where it told a better story about life whenever he was laughing between his songs that are pretty serious. Mm-hmm. And so I think every time we perform together, I smile real big because when he's on his back foot or you say something weird to him and he gets caught off guard, it shows you more of who he is, and it makes the experience better. Mm-hmm. And so I always, right before we go up, I always tell him, I'm gonna do some weird shit and try to make you embarrassed. Yeah, so that's how. Yeah, it's fun. I think
it's good.
He performs better.
Yeah, it's comical relief. It's, it makes it's me and my brother talked about this too. With folk music, a lot of times between their songs, they'll have some kind of joke or tell some kind of little story that's funny because it breaks up the heavy-heartedness of what the music is about,
right?
And it's also to just show we laugh too, we have fun too, and helps the crowd be a little less tense too, So yeah, I think the comical relief that you bring it really supplements his performance. And you just, for me, you always make me laugh every time I'm around you. So,
I appreciate it.
I think you're just hilarious, man. You got this crazy, wild man energy that you just don't give two fucks, man. And I think you do. I'm not saying, but you're unabashedly you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I don't feel like a lot of people have that kind of, I don't know. I guess the word that comes to mind is confidence, but it's just you're I'm just going to be me. I don't care how loud or whatever. I'm just going to be who I am.
Sure.
And I see that come through, man.
I appreciate it. It's taken a long time. I think playing music live brought that out of me a little bit. I've always heard this thing that's you should never bring your full self to work. You should always save some for the homies or for your family or for your friends. And so I think I've learned to really like who I am as a person and learned to really embrace that. And then I've learned to love to do that for other people is to hopefully help them see the person that they are and appreciate that. And so I think clowning I love laughing,
Yeah.
There's Pete Holmes has this joke, and I don't know if it's a joke as much as it's a true statement. He says there's 2 types of Irish families. There's hitting families and teasing families. Mm-hmm. And I came from a family that just roasted each other all the time, just giving each other a hard time. Go to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and my aunts and uncles always just we get together now as a family still, and the first like 2.5 hours is everybody just telling the same story, but like a little bit louder than they did the time before, and just trying to get you. So it's like a core like value of mine is to just laugh. So yeah.
I was gonna ask like where maybe that sense of being outspoken the way that you are comes from, you know, like your upbringing, how your family was. So it sounds like that's definitely a family dynamic of how you were raised and just.
Yeah, I think it's a couple places. One is that, right? The aunts and uncles, like, I still tell people, like, my favorite people in my life that, like, I get to see not as often as I like are my aunties, my aunts, is, like, going back to Texas and spending time with them, showing up maybe an hour early to Thanksgiving and hanging with my Aunt Liz or Aunt Therese, Aunt Lisa. Because, like, your like aunts are to me at least are the people that like saw you through everything you've done in life, and they're like really proud of it, and they didn't have to ever like, they always got to like egg you on and never tell you to like chill out. Whereas your parents are always, you know, they put the seatbelt on, where the aunts are like, yeah, jump, like do it, like see if you can do it. So that's that. I think I got some like, it sounds like similar to you as long as what I've heard on this podcast, but like I've got some experiences in my life that like dark days, 10 years of like some family members that, you know, just didn't do what family members are supposed to do. And so like I went through therapy, I did some stuff like that, but like it took a long time to figure out like life's not that serious. You know, like you can look back on certain things and go, that was serious. And you can look at what's happening today and go, this isn't that serious, and kind of laugh it off. And so there's a piece of me that like the levity and like enjoying life comes from A, great family circumstances where it's like, man, people were just rooting for me. But then B, like I've had worse days, way worse, right? And so laughing is a way to remind yourself like, today is not as serious as something I've been through before, right? I've done it. I've done harder stuff. I can keep going today. So, yeah. So, I take a lot of stuff seriously. I like to laugh. There's like a lot of focus that comes, but also like, man, I think like your brother, I think is one of the funniest people in Spokane for sure, dude. Like, I still tell some jokes I heard from him like 2 years ago when he did a set at Spokane Comedy Club. I do credit him after I tell the joke and people laugh, but like. So yeah, laughing to me is like a way that we deal with being human, which is like, how do I deal with the conflicts of like who I am and who I want to be, and like what's happened to me in the past and what, you know, is fair and just. So yeah, I don't want to get too serious, but like, that's definitely
real.
where it comes from.
This is where, I mean, this is where I like to take conversations. I mean, people that can make other people laugh, I mean, it makes life better too, you know, like having that ability, and to do it like from an authentic, genuine place, which like you and like my brother, like there's individuals that have that skill, that talent. And, you know, my brother's a very serious dude too, though.
He is.
Like very serious.
Writes good songs too.
But and like kind of like you were, maybe that was off camera, but we were talking about comedians and how they look at the world and are able to analyze it and like poke fun at some things that other people maybe don't see, or like they're able to bring it to light in a different way. I think that's why, you know, my brother he definitely has that talent, and he definitely learned how to be funny and stuff because I was his older brother, you know, like I definitely was not easy on him when he was a kid, when we were kids, you know. And so, but yeah, so shout out Johnny Miles Hodge, man.
Johnny Mile,
yeah.
Great songwriter too.
Great songwriter, phenomenal songwriter.
He knows how to. I think it correlates well for folk music and jokes because there's a punchline, but it's a long punchline sometimes. Yeah, I joke because again, my brother Daniel, who's 2.5 years older than me, he was the athletic one, played college football, like. Entrepreneurial, runs a really successful business working with horses, like dude.
Dang.
But
that's cool.
I used to like say something smart to him, and then he'd turn at me and like, and I'd run into the bathroom, lock it, and then try to roast him from under the door.
Yeah. Same situation with me and my brother. My brother became so witty because of my physical prowess and him learning how to get at me, and that was through his wittiness. Like he became so witty. He could get under my skin so quick, you know. And the only way I was ever really able to get back at him was physical, you know, like just
Wrestling.
big brother whooping on you.
That's right.
You know, so
My brother works with his hands today still, so he could still whoop me. I know exactly where I stand in that relationship, and it is the witty one, though he's pretty funny too. So
yeah, that's cool, man. So how you said you have 3 older brothers
3 older brothers and a twin sister.
and a twin sister? Oh yeah, that's we were talking about that off camera. I didn't know you had a twin and a twin sister. She lives in. What was that like growing up with a twin? How was that experience, man? Like, that's such a trippy thing, I feel like, and a very unique, special thing that doesn't happen. So what was your experience being a twin growing up?
Yeah, I always joke, and this is a joke. No, I always joke that like I'm the youngest of 4 boys with a twin sister attached, and so like I was a number when it came to my father and mother. It's like there's our little girl that we've been waiting for all this time. So
They're like, oh yeah, we got a boy, oh, our girl,
the 4th boy to eat more food, and then
Right.
our darling daughter. No, I tease. You know, it's interesting because a
Who
lot
entered
of people,
the world first, you or her?
yeah, by like an hour and a half.
So it was the 4 boys and the girl. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like this is fake. I want to say this, but there's like a apocryphal story growing up that my mom like got up and like made breakfast for the kids between. I was born at my house too, which was like back in the 90s was weird.
Right.
Now all the
Wow.
like crunchy women are trying to do that out the gate. You know what I'm saying? They got their like vegan diets and their doulas pulling up to the house, and that's what we did in 91. Shout out Larry June, 91. So I think like the interesting thing is a lot of people say, "Oh, twins, do you guys have a language or sixth sense or anything?"
Yeah.
No, I think like there's like 3 times in my life where I can say like for real, like I think we had that like twin prowess thing. One was my sister got in a car accident in college and like got a pretty severe concussion, gets taken to the hospital, doesn't have like short-term memory, is like resetting, like a true heavy concussion.
Right.
And the lady at the hospital's like, who should we call? What's going on? Like, who do we call? Her phone was like messed up, so like they couldn't get a number. And then she's just like, call Darby. And they're like, who's Darby? And then like her memory would reset. And so they were like, what's his number? And then she just spouted out my number at the time. And I'm like working at Domino's on a Saturday morning, and I get a phone call from a random number. My wife's like, why do you always answer random numbers? This is why I answer every call. Telemarketers, get at me because I'm going to talk to you for at least 30 seconds. But I answer the phone, and I'm at work, and it's like, hi, there's no reason to be alarmed, but your sister is here with us at the hospital. And I'm like, what hospital?
Yeah.
So that like was a weird one. The second one is she has 2 little girls with just red hair, and my wife calls them little Darbies, even though they're not my children. They're my nieces. And I visited down with them a couple weeks ago in Texas. They're visiting, and I like showed up to my parents' house, and my sister comes walking out with her youngest, who I've FaceTimed with, and the baby just like came over, sat with me in my arms, and just hung out. So I don't think we had a sixth sense. I think like there's been times in our life where like either maybe I like got the same musk or something as my sister. I don't know what it is, but like her daughter was like, I can trust this fella. But then even just that car accident when she was just like, and all my other brothers were like, why'd you call me? Like, why'd you in the hospital saying, call me? We go back. But for whatever reason, like we weren't always close, but whenever she was in the hospital, she's like, call me. And I answered on the second ring and showed up in 10 minutes. So it was like the one time it was like, hearts, the Planeteers or whatever, with our powers combined. Yeah. So you have a weird connection with your brother? You're not twins, certainly not.
No, we're not twins.
I said weird connection too. Like, you have some sort of.
I think me and my brother. I don't know. It does feel that like I am supposed to be my brother's brother.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like we kind of. I don't know how deep into mysticism you get, or like I'm kind of open to all forms of ideas, but it feels to me that me and my brother were put together for a reason.
You guys seem inseparable. Like, especially when I see you guys on the mountain, it's always like, you guys sometimes can be men of few words, but it feels like a lot's being communicated.
You see me as a man of few words?
On the mountain, dude. I
On
just
the
see
mountain?
you big cheesing the whole time. Cracking
Yeah.
backflips
Right.
down in
right.
the park. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Johnny can be a man of few words. I think, I don't know, I'm learning that blend. Sometimes I feel like I just have so much I want to get out of me. So the podcast is a way for me to like organize my thoughts and conversations with people and,
Right.
and deliver and find value in them for me. And hopefully I deliver value to the people that listen and to the people that come on, you know.
Maybe few words is wrong. I think you're a crafted person, which is like, I think
Yeah.
an enviable trait is somebody who says what they mean and can be very diligent with their words. I'm like the opposite, dude. Spraying and praying, just hoping it connects. Like,
I don't know. I feel like I'm the same way though. So I was just curious.
maybe you fooled me.
Yeah, maybe I have. I don't know. I do try to be very intentional with
There you
my
go.
words. I do try to uphold what I say, you know, and I definitely don't feel that I'm a fool that rambles on about nothing, you know. I'm not saying you're not saying you're a fool.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think you're actually very intelligent, you know, like the things that you're able to say in your comedy or what you do, it shows high intelligence
Thanks.
from my perception. So I've never, to be clear, thought like, Jesus, Darby, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I see underlying you not even underlying, you're even when you're just joking around being wild, like is from a place that you can tell is intelligent. But yeah, you know, I think I've always been geared towards in my young adult life of like trying to figure out how to communicate effectively. And the podcast obviously really helps me deliver and find more in that skill. So it's interesting. But my brother, man, he's very smart too and very articulate with his word choice. You know, that boy be reading Stoic philosophy and all that kind of stuff.
Come on.
So, where do you feel like you want to go with your music? Because you work a full-time job, which
Sometimes more than a full-time job.
right,
That's
you
my
work.
wife.
Yeah, you work quite a bit for this company, which specializes in sourcing and manufacturing products. Is that correct?
Warehousing and logistics. Yeah,
Warehousing
yeah.
logistics.
So we're like a end-to-end supply chain. So get your goods from over the ocean, get them to a warehouse, get them to your partner, get them to your customer. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a full-time job in a little bit. So yeah, travel. For music, you know, man, that's a good question. I think my wife asks me this all the time because sometimes it can feel aimless. I think one of the ways I've described my music is like, or my goals in music is to like work with people to help them express their ideas. More of like a producer role where it's like, whether it's with like JG, our friend, and he's like, hey, I'm feeling this type of way. Do you have any music that would like convey this emotion? That's like my favorite type of music to make is sitting down with somebody at the studio and like working side by side. Hey, putting together a beat. No, flip it like this. Hey, can that chord's a little too happy? Can you make it a little more somber? Or can you speed it up a little bit? I think it needs some urgency. That's like my favorite stuff. Dude, I could do that.
Really getting into it and dialing it in.
That's right, all day. Like, and I don't care if the song never sees the light of day, but like watching somebody like start thinking through it to me is so powerful. So working with rappers is really fun because I feel like, man, you get surprised, right? Like when you work with a rapper and they have a different cadence, or you work with one rapper to the next, like they like different sounds, they like different emotions, they like different everything. So to me, music, my goal is to like help other people express. Now, recently I've been working more on like some personal dance tracks. I've been trying to get like the courage to put them out in the world, man. There's like a piece of you. I'm impressed with people who can get out in the world and do something and put it into the world because there's like this emotional toil to me, and I got sunscreen in my eye. That's why I keep crying. So I'm not just sitting here crying one tear every 10 minutes. It's like true sunscreen's in there. Shout out the sun.
Do you need to take a break and get it
I'm
out? All right.
It is.
Word.
It's just in my eye. So I always appreciate people like yourself that have a vision and can push it into the world. And like, because to me, it's like every time you go for the vision and it's like, all right, I'm working on something, you get to the point where either one of two things happen, where either you've worked on it so long that you don't feel that original like emotion attached to it, which is why I love working with somebody else, is because as soon as somebody else's emotion is on it, you can like hold it in your hand and you can view it from a third party perspective, and it's not only you that's attached to it. But like pushing something in the world to keep that original intent feeling behind it and to do something so consistently for so long. Every time I see somebody, I'm like, golly, I wish I had that fortitude. And then the second thing is like, how do you like hold something for so long, and not even the original intent, but like just working at it and like moving it a pixel or like maybe a little bit louder on it to get it to express fully what you want, that you're willing to sign your name on it and have it be attached to you for a long time. So I'm getting there for my solo stuff. My wife is like, just release it under some crazy name. And she doesn't sound like Homer Simpson or anything, but like, she's like, just put it out. Like, what's the worst that could happen? So I there's this piece of me that's like some dance music I'm really proud of it. I've been holding on it way too long. And I just want to like start putting stuff out that I'm proud of. I want to see people dance to it. I want to see people have a good time. I've been DJing a couple things around town. I'll put one of the tracks in. People still nodding their head, bobbing to it. It's like the greatest feeling, right? It's like I'm playing something that people like, and like it's fun. So yeah, a couple of collaborations with some people, some friends that until I started traveling for work, we were meeting every week, putting some stuff together. So there's some stuff coming. And this summer, I'm excited. It's like housey dance music, and it's like geeked up. I can just see myself skiing to it all next year. So it's got to be out there. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, man. That's really cool. Yeah. I'm excited. I think that I heard a sample or something from, I don't know who it was, of some electronic music that you did, and I was like, yo, this is banging.
My favorite song that's unreleased is T.S. The Solution and Rose Throw. I've put together this crazy beat that's kind of weird.
Maybe it was that one.
It's cool.
I can't remember for sure.
Shout out to T.S. for putting that out in the world at some point in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like some weird stuff. I listen to a lot of, I don't know like what kind of rap you're into, but like there was a period where like alt rap was kind of taking off. Denzel Curry was on some weird stuff. Flatbush Zombies was on some weird stuff. Even like there was a period Joey Badass was doing some stuff that didn't sound like top 40 or even just like dusty hip hop. And I was like, yes, this is it. Even Magic, that Vince Staples DJ Mustard track is crazy. It's got some bounce to it. It's a little weird. So I'm hopeful, I'm hopeful I can convince some of these rappers to do some weird stuff with some like warbly sense and stuff.
Well, you put out a project that was during COVID, right?
Early COVID.
Was it pre-COVID or?
No, so I finished the music like January or February of 2020. And then it was like, oh, it's April. COVID's over. Do you remember that period where it was like, we can go out in public. The numbers are down. Like we're not sanitizing our groceries anymore, which is like a crazy, to remember back whenever you were wiping down your Nabisco crackers when you got home from the grocery store and your apples. Oh, how the times have changed. So there's like this period where it felt like the world was about to open up. Some events started hitting the calendar again. And I was like, yes, this was it. I'll put this out. I'm like going to schedule a show. And I start like getting together a whole press kit. I'm practicing the songs. And then it was like second locked. Yeah, so it's called These Are Songs You Can Dance To. And
right.
It was like my first foray. JG's on that. TS is a feature. Islo Matisse. I love that music.
And Bazil?
Yeah, Basel. Talon Basel. Bazil.
Talon Basel.
That's
Bazil.
like my
Okay.
favorite track on the whole project.
Yeah. Where's he from?
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's Lakota Sioux.
All
He
right.
does some cool stuff out on the on his community. He's like runs a studio. He's put out some stuff recently. Yeah, Talon Basel.
Nice.
Oh man, now
Yeah.
I feel like a bad friend.
Well, it's spelled like Belzil or something like that.
Bazille. Talon.
Yeah.
Talon. Yeah.
That's cool, man. I actually was playing that project today, and his verse came on. I was like, I liked this verse, man. It was very, I don't know. I liked it. It was a cool verse.
Yeah. So I met him through JG. We did a residency here in town. Mixed some beats for it. I think I maybe had 1 or 2 beats make the project, but talent is the man, dude. If you want to like follow somebody who loves to do, like, he's got a vision for what he wants to do. That's what I get jealous of. Remember, anytime somebody has a firm belief of what they want and they're pushing for it to come out, like, I just don't have that same sense. I'm like wandering around, spilling coffee everywhere I go, just like, hopefully it like clicks.
Well, I like everybody that knows you thinks you're so talented. The music you produce for people, you know, everybody that has your production work is, you know, very proud of it. And it sounds like to me, though, that with your own personal work, there's a sense of like having this perfectionism and not being willing to release it, or fear of releasing it because it maybe isn't good enough, or, you know, and I don't know, like, I really deal with that myself, you know, even with this podcast. I was teasing yesterday. I'm like, dude, I just want to pull everything down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I have such a threshold of like where I want to go and where I want to achieve, and you know, am I actually, you know, imposter syndrome sets in. Am I actually delivering value? Does what I talk about matter? Especially on my personal side notes that I do, where I'm trying to figure out a way to talk about topics that I deal with that hopefully give value to others. But then the perception can get twisted in my own mind, like, you're trying to tell people how to live. Like, who the fuck are you to tell people how to live? And that's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm scared of the perception that is what people might see me as trying to do.
Right.
And so, like, that's where my overthinking gets into play, and it prevents me from moving forward. But at the same time, it's like, you mentioned that you perceive me as being craftful, and that is how I want to be perceived, that what I do, there's craft in it. It's not me just like gurgitating a lot of crap out into the world. Like, I want to have intentionality behind what I do, and I also want to try to reach the highest quality of work that I can. And I've been like really refocusing on craft and what I do, especially for product, for city chapters, and with the podcast. Like, how can I up the value of the podcast, the production of the podcast, in different ways? Because I'm always trying to grow. I'm always trying to keep moving. But yeah, I mean, I fully identify with putting music out. And I think a lot of artists in general deal with that. Like, I know TS deals with it. I know so, like, a majority of creatives that I know probably deal with it in some capacity. So it's like, how do you get to that place where, like, you know, you really have done the best work you can do, and you still put it out,
Right.
and you move through the fear or the insecurities of what's going to happen, what are people going to think? Like, it's a really hard place to be. I think there's some people that maybe are just like, I don't know, lack of a better word, this is the word I'm gonna use, arrogant, and just are like, I'm the motherfucking shit.
I get jealous of those people.
right Like, me too. It's like, they have that undying, unquestionable confidence,
Right.
and they operate that way. But I find those people a lot of times hard to respect too. So, because they're so abrasive in the way they do things and how they treat people.
Totally.
So, I don't know. You know, it's like, yeah, I do want some of that, but I don't want to lose also, I think, some of the beneficial sides of me, because I am humble, because I am vulnerable. But I also know that my work could always be better too.
Totally.
Like, and knowing it's okay to put out work that I know it could be better, but it is good enough.
Right.
And I don't even like the word good enough, but it's like, or the saying good enough, but how do you be okay with knowing this is the best work you can currently do?
Yep.
without nitpicking it, because I'll nitpick stuff, you know. But I feel like in music, it does take time to develop a real good track from what I would perceive. Like, you first make it, and it's kind of like that in graphic design. You first make it and you think it's good, but like a lot of times now I just walk away from it for a week, 2 weeks, come back to it. I'm like, whoa, I see that it needs to be this way now. And I don't know how I missed that before.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like for me too, sometimes I'll sit down and I'll write 5 quick little like 40-second excerpts. Not even a loop. Sometimes it's just intro, mid, outro, and it's like a diary entry in a lot of ways. It's like I'm just writing music in that moment for how I feel. And sometimes you listen back, you're like, wow, I really captured that. And other times you listen back and you're like, man, I suck at making music that day. I will say one of the things, Tyrell, one of my friends from the band Lavoy, they moved down from Alaska to Spokane. He shared with me a couple of years ago, there's an interview with David Chang, who's like Momofuku, like the noodle bar or whatever. He was interviewed by Jerry Saltz. And Jerry Saltz is this like famous art critic, and he's like, one of the things that Jerry talks about is you have to set a deadline as an artist or something, because there is never a period where you can't keep making it better. And at some point, making it better becomes subjective beyond what any human will perceive, and it's only in your own mind. And he's like, there is a period where the work is done, but it will never feel complete, and you have to just force yourself to push it into the world. And he says part of that's a process of just climbing through the shit to get to the gold. Like, he's like, the best artists have just pushed things out of their mind and gotten rid of them so that they can do the next thing. And the next thing and the next thing, only to find that 12 years into their career, 15 years into their career, that's when they like started writing or started producing their best designs, their best music. So shout out Tyrell. I appreciate that that podcast recommendation.
yeah, I want to listen to that one.
It's old, but it's good. And it's like, you just hear it and you're like, and that's what he says. I always encourage people that you have to keep pushing through it. The other thing he talks about is that true artists become highly technical, gifted, skilled, whatever, at figuring out, maybe it's music, maybe it's art, maybe it's design, putting a pixel perfectly. And then he says that the grand scheme is so that they can de-skill, reduce the level of effort on what they're doing from a like prowess standpoint, because it allows them to communicate their message, right? So they bring down the level of like technical difficulty of what they're doing so that they can bring up the like emotional connection of what they're doing, which I think is like a powerful thing.
Yeah.
So I'm with it. I think like if I've ever sent you a track on iMessage and you've listened to it and given me feedback, I appreciate it. It's probably not out in the world, so it's embarrassing. I will say I sent a song recently to a friend that I really respect their musical taste, and I was like, hey, I'm in this new direction. I'm feeling really confident on it. And they replied and they were like, this is the best song you've ever done. And I was just like, whoa. And I know it was like in the genre that this guy likes, so there's like part of that. But then I was also like, all right, like I feel good about this. Like, hold up, let him cook, right? Like, here it comes. So yeah, again, I respect, there's this person I respect, which is like the person who can push it out and get it done. First and foremost is if something's in the world, you deserve more respect than if nothing's in the world. And the second one is the person who's got like a vision and like sees what they want to exist and make it exist. Like, I don't look at the world and go like, look at this granite block. There's a naked David in here somewhere, right? Like, I'm no Michelangelo, but like I respect that person because they've done the work to realize that if they start carving into it, it needs to exist. Like, and it has to be something that comes into being. I get jealous of those people. It's like the number one person in the world that I look at, I'm like, wow, I'm jealous of that, is the person who sees something that has to exist. And there's this feeling of like, they're like toiling over the existence of this thing.
They can't sleep because of it, right? Yeah. I know I've been having a lot of conversations over this last week about that. And last week, 2 weeks, and the conversations have been arising around that and like what I'm doing with city chapters, because I do want to find what that is for me. You know, what is that thing that just drives me to that place where I have to see these things exist? And I've definitely, there's a lot of creation for me that has came from city chapters and putting stuff out, putting this podcast out. But I'm still like trying to find this deeper reason of why I'm really doing it, you know? And you mentioned earlier, like feeling that your music pursuits sometimes are aimless. And I feel that way with city chapters sometimes. I'm like, where am I really going? What's the point of this? Does it even matter? And why does it matter? Or what do I need to find for myself
Sure.
to make it really matter at a deeper level for me and what I want to find and pursue and do in life? Because I want to find a way to actually have impact in the world, great or small, but whatever that impact is that I identify it within my soul and my heart, and I need to pursue it. I need to have that, like to have that clear vision, and I've lost that. Maybe I've never really had it, because where and how I've grown, how I've matured is changed me a lot. And so it's coming back to this place of like, okay, like I just don't want to put out clothes that represent cities just to do that.
Sure.
Like there has to be a deeper intrinsic value behind city chapters, and I'm working through that process, but I feel aimless a lot of times. But it always comes back to just like, well, I just got to keep doing the work. I got to keep showing up, because for me right now, city chapters is the only concept that I have of anything that I'm like, there is something that does matter with city chapters.
Sure.
It's not, the mission is not 100% clear to me, but I like, even so, I'm like, well, I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing. I got to keep putting out podcasts. Like, dude, earlier this week, I've had 2 podcasts this week. I wanted to cancel both of them, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I'm just not in the zone, bro. Like, I don't even know if I want to keep doing any of this.
Sure.
And that's just where I can go with like where I currently am at, because it's been really dark over the last few weeks of like feeling hopelessness in my pursuits. And but I showed the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
I showed the fuck up. I did these interviews. By today, I felt a lot better. But this was like, early in the week, Monday, especially for my interview on Monday, I was just like, I just don't want to do it, man. What's the point of doing this?
Sure.
But I'm also close to, 40 chapters now. So I'm like, I got to get to 50 at least.
Yo!
That's a milestone. I
Gotta
get
hit a
50.
C note. Gotta hit a C note.
And once I get there, it's like, all right, got to get to 100. But
That's right. That's that stoicism. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius, right? There's like that popular, the Daily Stoic from that dude in Austin. The obstacle is the way, right? Like,
yeah,
the meaning of life is what you're currently doing, because that's all you have, right? You might as well do it well. I think you're tapping into another piece of like Spokane, like TS got that bar, Second City, I turned Diddy. Ooh, bad line. Oh gosh, cut it. No, Second City, I turned Diddy and put dreams in gold.
Yeah.
And I think like there's like a piece of like everybody in their life wants to like, even graffiti writers, right? They're scribbling their name on some sort of public property or private property. It's like they're hoping that will like some sort of piece of them is like, this should be in the world. It needs to exist, or like I'm present, right? And so I think you're giving people in Spokane high quality stuff, right? Like setting the bar high on the apparel, but also be like, dude, we're doing cool stuff in this town, and it's a weird town, and like some people are like, it's a weird market, right? Like shout out Jazz. He always calls Spokane a market. I love it. It's like it's a weird town, right? There's a lot of people that are from here that don't like it. There's a lot of people that moved here that feel like they've stumbled upon some secret and they don't want to get out. And then there's a lot of people that moved over from Seattle that are like, this feels affordable, right? And so it's a weird little melting pot of like people who are here for a little while, people who are here for a long time, people who are here on purpose for a long time, people who stumbled here and like found themselves handcuffed here because bus tickets too much to get somewhere else, I guess, because it's kind of all by itself. But like there's this feeling of like, you can do it with quality. You can be here. You can enjoy it. There's stories to be told here. There's like paintings. There's music. There's business to be done in this town. So like I think there's something to being proud of where you're from and where you live. Right. I'm approaching 10 years, which at some point that becomes where you're from. Right. I've spent almost a third of my life in this town. Mm-hmm. And so that's like the thing I want most for Spokane is like, I was joking because like one of my neighbors that just moved in, he was like, yeah, we just moved in. He was chatting with him. He's this older guy. He moved up from Mendocino County, which is like, some bougie county in California.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we've had a hard time finding places we like. And I like start listing off restaurants and start listing off all these different venues and art galleries and things you got to do and events throughout the year. And he was like, man, are you the mayor of Spokane? And he's like, you know everything here. And it's like, dude, this is like happening here, right? Like when I moved here in November, it was funny because this is a testament to the power of this organization, but it was November 16th. And I was like, what is there to do in Spokane? 2014, November. And they go, well, you just missed it. It's called Terrain. It's the first Friday in October. Shout out, right? That organization is huge. It's bigger than any of the people that are in it. And they've really invested in the city. But like, when I moved here, that was like what people said. You missed the one reason to be in Spokane. And I'm like, and now today it's like, there's this. Hey, these people are doing this with art. These people are doing this with music. There's different hip hop crews now. Like, dude, when I moved here, there was like 2 crews doing anything. It was Islo and Exact, and then like TS, and it was like those are the rappers in town. Cordell Drake.
Yeah,
like,
well, you got. I mean, the real OGs of rap in Spokane are Certified Outfit. Like,
go for it. Yeah.
have you ever listened to their projects?
Oh no, I feel bad. Hey, edit this out.
Yeah.
Take out the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm embarrassing myself.
No, they were
Certified Outfit.
early 2000s, but they caught a Fed case maybe even before you got here.
Sure.
I'd have to, the time has gone by so quick, so I don't know. They probably caught the Fed case somewhere around 2014 or so they went away for a while. But they have this album, Certified the Outfit, and that album slaps.
Here we go.
And these guys were like real gangsters. You know what I mean? And right before they went to prison, they were about to sign with Ice-T's label. So it was like a big thing. And then they caught these like conspiracy charges for like all sorts of shit, like some real gangster shit.
Spokane's got it, dude.
Like as far as like real rap, they're in Spokane. I gotta say, Certified still holds that marker of. I mean, it was real street stuff though, like real street, and Spokane is got a very dark underbelly to it, and a lot of things be going through and on in Spokane that we don't try to acknowledge, and but. Anyway, long story short, I'm going way probably too far off on it. Certified the Outfit, man. Them dudes, bro, they really put it down.
Listen to it.
Yeah.
When I moved here too, the Spiders.
Oh yeah.
The
Flying Spiders. Yeah. Legendary group, dude. For Spokane, they really had a great thing going, amazing thing going, and yeah, can't forget Flying Spiders, definitely.
They're on that commercial. Was it GECU way back? Was that what it was?
I don't remember the commercial, but
I was in Tri-Cities, and when I was moving up to Spokane, this random dude who was like a banker was at the coffee shop, and he's like, "You're moving to Spokane, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, check this out." He pulls up his computer, and he's got a music video that, like, I think it was GECU. I don't even know if GECU still exists.
Yeah.
But they like sponsored a bunch of music stuff. And the Flying Spiders was like a commercial. It was like a 30 minutes or 30-second spot that they like did a music video for, and it was like awesome. And
yeah, they definitely were the biggest thing in town for a while. Yeah, by far.
Party at their shows.
And that was like real hip hop, with a full. I don't even know how many people were in that crew. It was a lot. There was like
at least 8. One for each leg.
Yeah, definitely for real. That's actually really.
But now you got like crews, right? It felt like when I first moved here, it felt like even like the Spiders are on the map. Certified Outfit now. I'm gonna look them up. But now you got a bunch of different people in the game, right? You've got Scheming, Affiliated, True Hoods, just to name like 3 of the crews that have come up with a group of artists that are like working together to push it forward. Like, it's a renaissance. I always like. Then you got some young cats coming up, right? So I'm not gonna start name dropping people. I don't want people to be like, "Oh, co-sign."
Yeah, there's some big things brewing for sure. And I mean, shout out to those homies too. Like they're really moving, and I respect because they move together. You know, like I noticed Affiliated and Scheming, like they got, you know, they all. What I respect about what I'm seeing from them is they really like are together. They're really supporting each other and trying to make their dreams come true, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think that is what's essential for people in Spokane to make it past this barrier that's kind of been placed on us creatively. Like, we have historically had a lot of great creatives, but it doesn't ever seem that they reach a plateau where they can like reach financial independence based upon their creative pursuit.
That's right.
It's like everybody like struggles with making money in their creative pursuits. That's changing now. More people, bigger city because of the additional people, more money around, you know, but traditionally it's been kind of bleak as far as like people actually making it in a real way with their creative pursuits.
It's cool though. I mean, like, and then the 10 years I've been here, I've got friends that are artists, friends that are like become potters, carpenters. So like, I think Spokane has really like grown into the feeling of like, yeah, this is us. This is what we do. And like, again, even what you're doing, right? Maybe the vision is yet to come fully, but like high quality clothing on people's backs. That's like, dude, if I see a Fear of God Essentials one more time around town and I feel how that garment weight is like trash, like, I shouldn't say that too much, right? I ain't trying to talk too much noise on Fear of God Essentials. They got money I don't have, but like that stuff isn't quality. When you look at it comparatively to like the heavyweight sweatshirts that you're putting out, the quality of the garments, your stuff's unparalleled against them. So
yeah.
And you know it's true too. You're probably not gonna talk too much, but you can feel it, man. Have you felt one? They're thin. They're not. It's a brand name printed on it, and they're selling it for $100. Like,
yeah, Fear of God. I mean, in Essentials, like same brand, but yeah, they sell their stuff, but they got the branding, they got the influence,
they got the hype. They got rappers wearing it around the world, right?
Yeah.
They even got Drake wearing it sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
Shout out Drake.
Yeah, who do you think won the battle,
Dude,
man?
It's not even worth talking about. It's not even, I just want to say, one of my coworkers was trying to talk to me about Drake. He's from Southern California. I'm going to send him this excerpt. He's from Southern California. He's trying to quote to me how Drake won this battle and how he's on some Mega Mind stuff.
Some Mega Mind stuff.
Juan Delilah, dude, get out of here. That's all I got to say.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we don't even have to go into it. It's not even worth talking about.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I mean, I guess like, you've been doing city chapters a minute. Like, do you feel like you've progressed the vision of it? Do you feel like you've done more of what you wanted to do? Do you feel like you're like, man, I just need more capital to go bigger? Like, you know, when you look back on it, and I don't want to like put you too much on the spot, but like when you stand in your shoes and you look backwards of everything you've done, like, what's the feeling that comes to mind? Is it like there's unfinished work? Is it I'm really proud and like we're gonna keep going? Is it 10 more podcasts and we're at $5? Like what's going through your mind whenever you think about the last 10 years of what you've been doing? Because it's been almost 10, right? 7?
7 years.
Yeah.
Started in 2017. The first year was crazy because I got like in the Zoomies. I had Lil Jon buy a jacket within 2 months of me starting the brand. I had all these creatives all around the world getting jackets and like taking photos, and I really had tapped into a momentum for the brand, but I tried to make adjustments to like up quality or do things differently. And I pulled back on certain products that were working, and it caused forms of sabotage to my momentum. And that's where like perfectionism came into play. And it was really, I guess, forms of procrastination or me like maybe getting to a place where I was like, I don't know how I'll handle all this. So did I subconsciously self-sabotage because I'm fearful of the success I actually think I'm pursuing,
right?
Or the influence I'm trying to have with my brand, or all that kind of stuff comes into play. And I can't say that I'm proud, like honestly where I'm at. Like there's things that I don't devalue what I've accomplished, and there's a lot of people that I think, see city chapters from a few different perceptions. One is and especially at one time, there was a lot of people that thought like this was like a full blown company, and
Yeah,
there was
I
multiple
did.
people behind it.
Bobby
and
J was a shadowy figure for me for a number of years when I saw the presence online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a one man outfit. It seemed
Yeah.
like a marketing engine, content engine. Maybe some of that was UGC, but I can imagine that it got tiring, dude. Turning that gear.
Initially it was fun, and initially it was exciting. You know, I think I was tapping into certain things I've always wanted to find and accomplish for my life because, you know, deep down, like I do feel that I'm special. Deep down, I do feel I'm unique. Deep down, I do feel that I can bring some really cool shit into the world. And like, I do believe my perspective is valuable in how I see the world, you know, but there's also a lot of trauma and a lot of things that I've done in my life from my way past that I'm not proud of. So there comes this place too, like, who am I to be worthy of what I say and really feel I think I can achieve? And so I'm working through all of that, you know. And so then also COVID did happen, and that was a dark place for me and everybody. And I actually had one of my best sales online during a year of COVID. I think it was 20 or 21 that year. Like I definitely sold way more jackets than I ever did. And then I did the same thing. I was like, I'm going to do something different with my product. And I took away those jackets that had the momentum and basically removed a lot of product from my website. So, you know, there's this aspect of like, oh, the jackets that I was using are from a blank vendor that a lot of people used for their brands. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to be unique. I want my product to stand out.
Sure.
And I think what I did with their product and how I made it my own was unique, you know, being able to give, you know, the things that I guess I am proud of is that I have tapped into a concept that does unify people and give ways to people for them to represent their city in a different way than has ever been put out before.
That's right.
You know, so there are aspects that I'm like, dude, I definitely have tapped into something special with city chapters, but I definitely have lost a lot of that inspiration and motivation for it along the way because there's been so many momentum stops, and each time it has become harder to step back into it.
Sure.
You know, because that initial excitement is gone, but I still feel that it's underlying there somewhere. And I started the podcast in addition for me to find more purpose in what I do.
Your identity is attached to it now. It's not a shadowy Bobby J. I remember, again, when I first saw City Chapters, your Instagram was private. Mm-hmm. And so you had the jacket on, and your profile pic was like Spokane, and you're facing away from the camera. I was like, who is this shadowy figure from the underbelly of Spokane? You attach your identity to it, right? And maybe that's like two things. One is I think you and I are cursed with the same thing. My wife always says, the reason you're not going to put out this track that's really good is because you're bored. You spend so long on it that you're not listening to it like it's the first time. And she's like, you have to remember that other people hear that. And it's either the first time they hear it and they're going, that's cool. Or it's the 15th time they heard it and they go, I still like it. And she says, you're seeing it for the 9,000th time, which nobody ever does, right? Is to see something 9,000 times. Yeah. But like the person who's opening their drawers or they're looking in their closet and they see that jacket for the 15th time, the 50th time, the 100th time, and they've attached part of themselves to it. Like, that's what my wife says. She's like, when you listen to a song, you see yourself in the mirror. When somebody listens to your song, they see themselves in listening to it and having a good time. Like, and I'm like, oh man, so you're cursed in that regard. But you've attached your identity to it, which also is maybe a piece of it that's like, you've gone all in on yourself, not only on the brand. So the two things I'd say is one is like, my wife's always like, get somebody else to do the editing for you, right? Maybe the dirty work. I don't say the dirty work because like business is all sweating and stuff, but like having somebody help you a little bit at least to hype you up that like, no, the jacket's still cool. Those anoraks with a camo, whatever, like that stuff is still cool. Like it still works. And people are just catching that wave in other parts of the country. Like,
yeah, I'm actually thinking of Well, one transition was I was trying to figure out how to outsource my production. And it's just came back to after like talking about craft. And I listened to this podcast recently, Modern Wisdom. I forget that host's name, super famous podcaster and podcast, but he was interviewing Robin Sharma, who I've read a few of his books, The 5 a.m. Club and The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari are the two I've read. And so, but they were talking about craft and how like nowadays everybody's just kind of putting out the least viable product to get the market to spend with them.
That's right.
And I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that world. And I feel like there is part of what I've always struggled with my product with city chapters. Initially, like when I started, it was just like, yo, this is a cool idea. I know how to execute it. I think people will buy it. And I'm going to do it at a level of quality that is acceptable.
Sure.
And I did that. But I guess what I truly deep down want is like when you get a city chapter's product, it is unique, special, high quality. And that's the experience of being able to represent your city with product that is very unique and not mass produced. And that's what I'm trying to, figure out. Now, there is a happy medium of where I've been finding, and like with the new hats that I shout out my hats, buy my hats. It's time for our sponsors. City Chapter sponsors this podcast, and you should buy some hats. All right.
They look good. I like them. I think it's one of those things too, right? Like, I think there's two things I've learned. I've worked in e-commerce for a while, logistics for a while. In e-commerce logistics, I think like there is a point in every brand's history where marketing, you can ramp up the marketing, you can spend to acquire customers. And there's this virtuous cycle where if enough people are wearing it, all of a sudden people start seeing people wearing it and then they buy it and you don't even have to spend to get to them. Two things happen. One is either people hold on to it and they go, this looks amazing. And they're okay with the quality being not as cool because it's catching on to a trend. That's fast fashion, right? The second one is like they see themselves in that product somehow, the identity of it, right? That's like a Birkin bag, right? Is there's like there's more. That's an ugly bag, but there's a lot of emotional attachment for people when they buy a Birkin bag. That's like, I made it. This is a buck right here. This is a lot of money. And then the third is like you're hitting them with a quality and with like feeling of like, this is something crafted.
Right.
And like marketing can do any of those three things, right? Like it has to be attached to those because if it's not one and it's a low quality, if it doesn't look incredible and it's low quality, people are going to go 1 star, threadbare after one wash, whatever. But if it's cool and it deteriorates, that's like a thing. So I think like you're doing quality stuff.
Yeah.
You're more on that like second and third thing, which is like half of it is hey, I'm repping Spokane, but also like I am Spokane in a sense, right? Like I'm part of what makes the city cool. I think is like the feeling I get with like city chapters. When I see people wearing city chapters, I don't want to say it feels like a club. That sounds stupid to say out loud, but it like
that's not stupid though, because that's what I want it to feel like.
Yeah, they get it. They're here.
I feel like I've been really trying to figure out. I want you to keep going on your thought. I just want to interject for a second because like the club aspect and why I've been trying to understand why I do city chapters is like I'm trying to form and feel a part of a community that I never really saw exist before in Spokane, and like to be able to unify all the different communities in a way that hasn't been done before, because there are pocket communities but they're very small and cliquey,
right?
And it's like, how do we break those stigmas with all these amazing creatives we have,
right?
And support each other more, be in the same rooms more.
That's right.
Have conversations like this more, and they don't need to be recorded, but how do we start like really tapping into more a fuller support system amongst us, at least, from my perspective and from the city chapters flavor.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there doing it, but I've never felt included in that. You know what I mean? And maybe their aesthetic doesn't fit with me and they know that, or whatever that is. Because, I do definitely have and want you know, like to keep somewhat, and doing this podcast is a way of more like me being out there and attaching my personal self to the brand way more.
Yeah.
But still remaining in some aspects of what is this guy really up to, where, you know, having that mystery side to me. But, you know, the club aspect is kind of what I want to take it from, because like you have nonprofits that have chapters or clubs, right, in different cities,
BOEs,
but they're
Eagles.
they're all organized under one organization,
right.
one whole organization. Same thing with motorcycle clubs, chapters in different cities.
Totally.
And you know, there's other types of groups of people that kind of build this same type of way.
That's right.
And that's a lot of where my inspiration comes from. Street inspiration, and also like nonprofit inspiration. And like, how do you blend kind of those two things together to where you have a brand that is beneficial to a community, it's helpful to the community, but people that are from a certain type of lifestyle, whether that's street, it's inspiring to them as well too. Like, yeah, man, like, let's make things better.
That's right.
Let's do things better. Because like, I went through my own phase of going through some really dark places and being locked up and all that. So I'm always going to have a certain street aesthetic to who I am.
Sure.
Because it's just how I was developed in some crucial years, but also learning how to grow past that so that I can be an upstanding citizen. I think about myself walking down the street when I was young and like, damn, how dangerous I was to the community at that time. And now I think about the man I am walking down the street
Building
now.
community.
And I'm learning to. I don't think I am quite yet from my perception, because I feel very isolated most of the time in my life. But
City chapters has thrown some cool shows in Spokane. I think like
yeah,
that to me, when I see somebody wearing city chapters and I don't know who they are, which is a lot of times, I feel like it's not a secret handshake. That sounds stupid again, but like I feel like
I love that though. It doesn't sound stupid. I love that.
It feels like I'm in on the joke, like it's an inside joke, or like they
Right.
get it, right? Or they have a similar value to me, right? It's like I'm probably gonna see them
Similar
at
value. I love that.
the live music. I'm gonna see them somewhere. They're doing something. They believe in it. They're skating. They got a community around them. Like it feels like, yeah, a secret handshake or something. I'm always like. Then I feel self-conscious if I don't have mine on. I'm like, I want them to see me wearing my city chapters.
See, I love that, man. From the very get-go, too, like, I always had this vision and perception for the brand of, like, when people are wearing city chapters, like, it's that head nod. Like, if they don't know each other, like, yeah, you get it. You understand.
Yeah.
You understand a part of who I am.
Totally.
You know, and that is a part of a person that one wants to, you know, have style and represent their city, and also feel a part of something that is outside of traditional means of representing cities, whether that's your sports team. And not that I don't want to do like collaborations with those type of organizations, but having a standalone way that actually represents the city from more of a street aesthetic.
Right.
But I also design my stuff so you could be from the streets and wear my shit and look fly, but you could also be from the corporate world and wear my stuff and still fit your vibe.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the other thing that I feel that I can claim that I am proud of, before I did stuff for city chapters in Spokane, I never saw anybody wear anything with Spokane on it that looked tough.
Yeah, yeah.
That looked
like
looked G. Like, I really feel like my brand, now there might have been artists that had done stuff. I'm not saying it didn't happen before me, but as far as like a takeover kind of situation, like I feel like City Chapters was the first one to be like putting Spokane on people's back in a way that was like, yo, that's kind of gangster, or that's kind of fly, or that's,
anorak.
you know. So
What's the button down? What was it called? Not the anorak. You had an anorak.
There was coaches jackets. There was the windbreaker,
Yep.
and then I dabbled into doing some like really high quality embroidered stuff too. And
Yep.
obviously the heavyweight hoodies. So
I got the heavyweight crew neck.
but I want to tap into that all the time, you know, like that really high quality stuff. And that's where I'm working now. Right now, I'm doing high quality headwear because it's easy to work with those SKUs and you don't have to worry about sizing and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I hear you. I think like I'm with you on the tough aspect. Like as you can tell from my personality, I'm a tough guy myself. I value myself as tough. No, I think you're right. Like it's interesting because in music too, there's so many like subgenres, right? There's like Baltimore Club, which is like that kick drum that everybody knows. Dun 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 dun. Dun. That originated with like 2 DJs in Baltimore, and like people know that. There's like Europe, which is like, you know, like a specific neighborhood created that on the East Coast. Like there's so much fashion, so much like if you see somebody wearing Timberlands boots, you know, with some, you know where they're from, or like you know where they're inspired by. So I think it's cool. I think it works. I think it's giving Spokane an identity. It's like helping us understand who's in with us, who's on the crowd, who's about the culture, who's with it. And I think that's one thing I think as Spokane we got to realize and make sure is like you don't always have to chase everything that's happening everywhere around the world. Like I think music and TikTok and all that, those trends have gotten bigger and bigger. But like the artists I respect, look at Exact Change, look at Islo Matisse. Their content is like Spokane. It's the forest. It's like alleyways. It's like happening here, right? True Hoods is rapping about the Bluff, right? Feel real blessed because I take my kids to the Bluff. Like they're talking about a time and place, and they're representing their city in their words and in their images, and that's what you're doing with your apparel. And it's tough. Like I like it. I like it. Every time I do, I wear that hoodie. Or that sweatshirt, I'll wear it as like a pullover in the winter when I go down for like meetings with customers, and it's a big, beefy. I'm just sweating under there, dude.
Yeah, they get hot, man.
They get hot.
It's got to be cold. You can wear that dead winter and just that and be cool. You know what I mean?
Going to the club wearing that on the inside, just sweating. I like it. No, it's good. I love it. I love what you're doing, and I think you got to keep doing it. And I think like, you know. Not everything hits. That's why, like, dude, some crazy number of fashion gets thrown away every year.
Oh,
it's because
yeah.
people go big with it and they're okay with the losses, right? And you're moving in a way that's more intentional with higher quality things. So you're not throwing away 30% of what you produce. You're being thoughtful with it. That takes effort, energy, and like a headspace that other companies, they just throw it out the door, right? It ends up at a thrift store or shipping overseas and big bales of cotton, and they cut it back up and make it into something else. So you're not chasing that. That's cool.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you navigating that question to me and us kind of digging into it on a little reversal interview. You know what I mean?
Got him.
Yeah, totally, man. It was good to talk about, and you know, I think it's important to talk about for different reasons for people that maybe listen, want to get into this world, or just maybe are dealing with similar things in their creative pursuits right now. For me, and I think this is how you see your artwork, it's like, I just want to deliver the best product though. And that's something that I can't give up.
Totally.
You know? So yeah, I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, I got to do everything in-house or work with local producers right now to get the quality that I know I need to have. So, yeah.
Trying to get a ski jacket, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Let's do it. Make it happen, man.
Make it happen.
Cool, man. Do you want to share anything else before we close it down?
Yeah, no, I think like to me, man, I'm really excited about a bunch of stuff that's out there with other artists. TS, you better drop that track with Rose Throw. It has to come out, period. But like, I'm really excited about what's happening around town. It feels like we're coming out of some dark days from COVID where, dude, there's a bunch of businesses that closed. We lost some music venues. We lost some like some great bands. There's like a sparkle in our eye in 2019. And for like anything is possible in Spokane, venues that were opening, bands that started playing. And I know some people went through some dark stuff during the pandemic because they couldn't express themselves. And so what I'll say like is, you know, taking it back to that Stoic comment from way earlier, is like the art and the work in and of itself can be the purpose, right? Just putting something out there that you've created in and of itself puts meaning into it. If that's the lowest you can muster is just turning the cog one more time, that effort and forcing yourself to do something sometimes will give it the intrinsic value. That's the 1 out of 10. Somebody will feel that as actual effort. And I think if you're a creator and you don't feel that, if you're at 1 out of 10 with your effort, realize that you working and forcing yourself to push something out is like more meaning than some writer in Nashville writing a song and handing it off to some music industry that's going to siphon it up and push it into everybody's ears, or another piece of clothing that's going to get shipped overseas. Like, that's the kind of stuff that as a town, when we realize that and we start shopping local, we start supporting local artists, we start going to stuff that we want to see exist, supporting the businesses that sponsor the cool shit, like, that's the moment that Spokane's going to like click, and it's going to feel like this is a place and this isn't just like some sort of transient position in people's lives. So I'm all about Spokane. I love it here, and I think we're on the verge of something great, and all it's going to take is 1 or 2 more of you guys to jump on, and ladies to jump in and just see what happens. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may be next year, maybe never, but like, doing something you're proud of will never not pay dividends, even if it's just, I did that shit and it was cool. So that's what I want for people to hear. You know, hopefully we get some new tracks coming out with some collaborators. That's not worth talking about. I think if you're in Spokane and you're coming out the other side of the pandemic, 2 years removed, just do it. Like, throw some paint on a canvas, grab your screen printer and throw that shit on a shirt you got at a thrift store if you have to. But like, do something that expresses what you want to put into the world. That's it.
Yeah, I definitely feel that Spokane's got some big energy brewing right now. I just feel it, you know, and it's just the way people are in the city. You can tell there's just a lot more money in the city right now too, which I love seeing, you know, and how they've cleaned up a lot of the city and the park, and like that new bridge just opened up, and like there's just different things that are happening that are making our city definitely a more beautiful place than it had been previously over the last like 20 years. You know, it's definitely came a long ways. And, you know, I do think there's a more sense overall of people really appreciating Spokane than I've really seen before in my lifetime. So yeah, it's cool. And yeah, I think there's some amazing creatives out here that can see some breakthroughs, and there is that place where I think, you know, we can tap into showing up for each other way more, showing up to these events more. I know the people want to. I know the people moving here want it, you know, because they're used to things like that in the cities they come from. And
That's right.
So, yeah, man, I'm excited to see what's coming, to see these new music projects, especially this one with Rose Throw and TS.
Come on, TS, put it out. I think the last thing is I don't know where this came from. When I moved up here from Tri-Cities, people were like, don't go downtown, you're going to die. Downtown is not a scary place. It's pretty sick. There's a ton of cool stuff happening. It feels like there's more and more people walking around all the time.
Yeah, totally.
The weather is perfect. Like, what are you doing out there in Liberty Lake? Drive 15 minutes, you bozo, and get out here, have some fun, and realize you've been missing out.
Yeah, I mean, if you go down to Riverfront Park and Main Ave and like all that area, it's really cool right now, you know? And crossing over now, you can walk across that bridge right over to Kendall Yards. Like, yeah, I think that bridge opening up is definitely going to make a lot more of a cool connection between the park, Riverfront Park, the mall, and then Kendall Yards. Like,
just wait till they get the zip line.
Yeah, they got the zip line. I've been seeing them build it. I'm like, oh boy.
That's how you know there's too much money in Spokane, is they put in a zip line.
We put in a zip line.
There's prosperity in this town with a zip line. Only places that are cool have zip lines.
Yeah.
Like Montana, like Colorado, and now Spokane. We're
people
bringing
just
the
gonna be
PNW
zip
up.
lining right off the bridge, man. It's gonna be wild.
The first time I see somebody wearing city chapters on a zip line, I'm taking a photo and
Hell
sharing it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's incredible.
That's so funny.
I'll just
Yeah.
zip line it.
I wonder when that's opening.
I think soon.
Like, it's probably gonna be, I would imagine.
They're not going to open into the winter, I hope. Imagine the first zip line just... Brendan's over here like, what have we done with our lives to come to this? I love it.
Man.
Clown it. Clown it.
You're a wild dude. Yeah, it's gonna be a zip line, man.
It's cool. I like the zip line, right? It's gonna bring families downtown.
Oh, totally.
It's
Yeah,
smart.
it's gonna be fun.
I know the trout and the like whitewater park. You remember when they were talking about?
Uh-huh.
Now we've evolved into like city politics. I got like, see, I told you, I'm all about it. So that whitewater park was gonna be cool, but it was gonna disrupt some trout habitat. I don't know if you were familiar with that.
Nope.
Yeah, they were gonna put in like some rocks to cause like whitewater all year round, right there below the dam. But it was like right on the red band trout spawning grounds, so they settled for a zip line.
Yeah.
Brendan knows what I'm talking about. Brendan knows exactly what I'm
It's
talking about.
probably for the best.
He knew about the Spokane Spanker. He knew about the Whitewater Park.
Yeah.
Brendan knows everything happening in the
does.
underworld of Spokane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it.
It's because he's got recordings of everybody.
Tell me about the zip line, or I'm releasing this into the world. I love it.
All right. Well, let's close it up. We got an event to go to. We're going to a Spokecast meetup. I'm sorry, Spokane Arts, but Brendan's coming with us. So Spokecast gonna be in the building. DJ Spicy Ketchup gonna be in the building. I'm gonna be in the building.
Shout out.
Jazz from Birds on the Coast gonna be in the building. TS The Solution, JG Pacodas,
That's the solution.
Tony
Brendan Boy.
Tony Louie gonna be there.
Tony Louie.
Those are our hitting crew.
That's our
So yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. It's been fun as heck.
Man. Darby, glad we made this happen, man.
Me too.
DJ Spicy Ketchup in the house. Check out his project he does have out. It's fun. It's awesome. Dance to it. Be looking out for any future projects he's gonna be
I'm giving
a part of,
it's
and
coming.
his own personal, which I'm looking very forward to. So yeah, this chapter was with Darby Meegan, aka DJ Spicy Ketchup. I'm your host, Bobby J. This is City Chapters Podcast. Shout out Spokecast and Brennan for producing and sponsoring my show. Till next time.
Roll the 808s.
Roll the 808s.